Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Well, we were not prepared for this. The venue is full. However, the mission is bigger than the room. You can still join us. Due to the incredible uptake, our Responding to the Rebirth conference will now be live streamed. Book your online pass now at rebirthconference.net. You may not be in the room, but you can still be part of the response from anywhere in the world on Saturday, the 22nd of November. On the live stream, you'll get full access to all keynote sessions, panels and interviews with guests including John Lennox, Paul Kingsnorth, Elizabeth Oldfield and Al Gordon. You can take part in the Q&A. You'll get to take home recordings of all of the sessions and get a front row seat to what God is doing. A rebirth is happening. Let's respond together wherever we are. Book your live stream pass at rebirthconference.net.
We were invited to a church that a colleague of my husband's went to. I can remember distinctly standing in the car park on that first day and saying, if anybody hugs me, I'm out of here. Shameful now because I'm always hugging. She's hugged everyone. She's like, it's terrible. But I can remember thinking, this is terrifying. But actually, no, it was the perfect church. We came to faith, and that would have been about 28 years ago now.
You published a book. Your wife, Gemma, she tragically died.
Diagnosed with a very rare but very aggressive form of blood cancer, and she never pulled through it. You're suddenly in the world of traumatic grief. You're suddenly in the world of pain and solo parenting.
There was one moment even when you were feeling like you didn't want to go on.
After her funeral, and I just was at the lowest ebb, but just had this brief moment, Justin, where I just thought, I'm done. Just had this sense that there was someone right next to me on that riverbank, and I just looked to my left, and there's the inescapable image of a man looking right at me in the eyes, and I could see in his eyes these tears, and I felt in that moment so strongly, and I can still see that moment now. That was the face of Jesus I was looking at, and at that moment I felt this surge of strength. And over the last 7 or 8 years, God has restored me in ways that I never felt was possible.
Hello and welcome to this week's show with me, Justin Brierley, bringing you more interviews from the podcast stage of the Big Church Festival. And today you'll hear the story of TV sports presenter Simon Thomas and how he navigated faith, loss and grief following the death of his wife, Gemma. It's a really powerful conversation. And also something completely different. In the second half of the show, Julie Tatchell and Amanda Middleditch from the BBC Repair Shop show joined me. They're also known as the Teddy Bear Ladies. They're both an absolute hoot, and we just have a lot of fun with a huge crowd of fans of the show talking about faith, laughter, creativity and crafting. This is the surprising rebirth of Belief in God, a show that can only happen with your help. If you'd like to come alongside and support, I'd be so grateful. And there are some perks. Monthly silver supporters get early access to new episodes, as well as bonus content. In fact, just this month, we've added yet another exclusive bonus interview for supporters. It's my one-to-one conversation with John McCrae about his work bringing faith to skeptics over the years on his hugely popular YouTube channel, What Do You Mean? Gold supporters also get early access episodes and that bonus content, plus you'll get signed copies of both my books and the chance for a monthly catch-up call with me. The links to support are with the show notes. So, this summer I was at the Big Church Festival, where some 35,000 people gathered in the rolling fields of the Wiston Estate, Sussex, for 3 days of music and worship, and for the first time a podcast stage, which I was glad to co-host with The Way UK. And what a fabulous range of guests I ended up chatting with in front of a capacity crowd for several live editions of this show, including some great audience Q&A. So firstly, here's what happened when I sat down with TV and sports presenter Simon Thomas. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 26 of The Surprising Rebirth of Belief in God, live again from the Big Church Festival. Hi friends, have you heard about the new video series just out that responds to the rebirth in faith we're seeing in the West? The Encounter series is filmed across the globe, is beautifully produced, and is exactly what's needed at this time. Encounter explores the lives of people that Jesus met then and now, and is hosted by my friend Carl Fays. It was a pleasure to be interviewed on the series and to join other guests like Pete Gregg, Paul Kingsnorth, Martin Shaw, Heather Tomlinson, Mike Bird, and Lynn Cohick, all names you may recognise from The Surprising Rebirth of Belief in God. If you're looking for a resource for today's cultural moment, can I recommend that you go to encounterseries.com.au. You won't be disappointed. That's encounterseries.com.au.
Welcome along. Welcome, Simon Thomas.
Good to be here.
Good to have you. Former Blue Peter presenter, currently obviously well known for hosting sports, Sky Sports. You've got a big story to tell though as well, and we're going to get into that about love, loss, grief. But also I want to talk about some of the, highs and lows of just being in the media eye and that kind of thing, and what that means for you. So welcome along.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
It's great to have you. When did you know you were going to be on the telly? What kind of, was there a moment in your life where you thought, that's the future for Simon Thomas?
Yeah, there was. I got stuck into TV at Birmingham University. I was there in the very early 90s, and we had a very bad, but actually really useful internal TV station at Birmingham University called Guild TV, watched by pretty much nobody. But it was a proper studio, and I presented a Friday morning program called The Lunchbox. Again, nobody watched it. It was on tiny TVs in the bars. This is long before the days of widescreen TVs. And I came out of university and thought, this is what I want to do. I'd grown up watching Blue Peter, loved it, loved this spirit of adventure, loved all the things they got to do as presenters. And I thought, that is the one. And my dad was a vicar. I'd been a Christian all of my life at this point, and they were living in Suffolk and Beccles. Hey!
Shout out.
The Beccles posse are here. Lovely to see you. Welcome along. What a glorious town that was. Sadly, I never lived there full time. Still is. Is my name still on the board in the town? Probably. There's a board which says the rector of this town's son is on Blue Peter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently 18 years ago, it's still there.
Wow.
So out of date.
The biggest claim to fame.
Yeah, my dad's no longer here, and I've not been on the programme for 20 years, but don't let that spoil a good story. So I came back to Beccles in the summer of 95, wanting to do this as a job. And I remember I was all set to write these letters, because there's really no internet at this point. I know that's hard for some people to understand. To various TV editors down in London to try and get some work experience, to try and get a runner's job, which is people in the media will know that's kind of the low rung, but it gets you into TV stations and radio stations. And I was all set to write this letter, and I thought, you know what? I haven't really checked out whether God's central to this big dream that I've got, so I probably ought to pray. And I was running out of time because Dad was going out. His computer was going to be free. We only had one computer in the house. I thought, I'm going to pray. I'm going to be really direct straight away. I said, God, please just give me a sign, because I give myself 3 years to make it. I'm not about to waste the next 3 years of my life. But to cut a long story short, headed down later that afternoon, was about to start writing the letters. I see on the left-hand side of my dad's desk a pile of magazines, Christian magazines. Can't remember what the name of this magazine was, but I looked just to my left, and there in this magazine, in the sub-headlines on the front cover, was this, why we need more Christians in the media. I was like, wow. So I opened it quickly to page 63 or whatever it was. And there is this article written by Steve Chalk of the Oasis Trust, who I ended up working with for a year, and Pam Rhodes, who at the time was presenting Songs of Praise on the BBC. And it was like one of those moments that some of you here may have had in church or at a big, Christian get-together where it feels like the person at the front is speaking only to you, but there's 300 other people in the room. It was like this article had been written for me.
Wow.
Why we need more Christian presenters, producers, directors, cameramen and women, and so on within the secular media. And that was my green light, but it was 3.5 years from then until I got the break.
Amazing. What kind of challenges has that presented to you, as much as it's obviously been an extraordinary experience getting to have all those experiences, on Blue Peter, iconic show. Now, obviously, I think it's every Saturday morning, more or less, you're involved, Sky Sports. So What are kind of some of the main challenges that brings your way, just as a human being, but also, I guess, as a person of faith?
I remember when I got the job on Blue Peter's, so it was quite an infamous episode in the show's history. I profited in the end from someone called Richard Bacon getting sacked, and it was a very high-profile sacking, if you remember it, because he got caught taking Class A drugs. It appeared on the front cover of the now defunct News of the World, and he was sacked, so there was always going to need to be another presenter. So when they start looking, and when I eventually got the job, there was a huge amount of interest within the UK media as to who it was going to be. Was it going to be the absolute antithesis of what came before? Was it going to be a goody two-shoes? And all that was known about me when the Daily Mail, the good old Daily Mail, got hold of the story a day early from when the press release was going to go out from the BBC, all they knew about me was my name was Simon, I was the son of a vicar who was in Beccles, and I was a Christian. That is all they needed, because, of course, this was the ultimate antithesis of what had gone before, because gone was the cocaine-snorting freak that they mentioned in the News of the World. Here was the son of a vicar, as The Guardian put it, can be seen in the summer, because I used to do a Scripture Union beach mission, waving his floppy Bible around the beaches and preaching on the beaches of Norfolk. I'd never done that in my entire life. But why, again, spoil a good story? And the pressure that came with that is I had no choice about whether or not I chose to profess my faith publicly. It was put out there from the very off. And Justin, what I found hard is the expectation that came with that. Just to kind of put it into context, because we live in a very, very different world, media-wise now. It's so fragmented. There's so many different things to watch. Those days of gathering around to watch a big live show are pretty much gone. There's very few shows, Strictly Come Dancing, probably one of them, but there's very few shows now that do that. Back in the day, Blue Peter did that. We used to get 6-7 million people watching on a good show. That is miles away from anything a kids show will get now. But it was a different era. And so suddenly you're thrust into the spotlight. There's a huge amount of interest in who this guy is. I mean, my dad in Beccles, bless him, woke up on that Friday morning when the Daily Mail had got it. He got a News of the World journalist outside his front door, banging on the front door, saying, "Have you got a picture of your son in a choir boy's outfit?" I've never sung in the choir in my entire life, thankfully, for choirs around the country. But suddenly you're launched out there. They know you're a Christian. They know your dad's a vicar. And I just remember that pressure from Christian groups, because suddenly, as I started on the show, the emails and the letters would flood in saying, "Can you come to this event? Can you come and speak at that event?" And I felt it was all on me. I used to get sent very regularly. You remember those? I doubt anyone here is wearing one still, but they maybe are. Put your hand up if you are. WWJD bracelet.
Oh, yes.
The What Would Jesus Do bracelet. I used to get sent those on a weekly basis because people would watch the show and go, when you do the makes on Blue Peter, your hands, hence you needed clean nails, are very much right in the middle of TV screens across the land. So what an amazing witness it would be if WWJD was front and center. So I found that hard because the expectation of how you share your faith in a public sphere like that didn't match the reality. I cannot come on air on a Saturday afternoon like yesterday on Soccer Saturday at 12 p.m. ahead of 6 hours and say, we're going to come to the big live early game between Man City and Tottenham in just a moment. But before we do, I want every single one of you at home to know that you are saved by the amazing, loving grace of Jesus Christ. Right, Paul Merson, let's reflect on the team news from the Etihad. I wouldn't be back next week.
I get that. Now, it's interesting, though, because you do have a foot in both the media culture space, but also in the footballing space and the sports space. And interestingly, actually, in that, especially in the football space, there has been some quite open acknowledgement of faith among players. And I've kind of noticed that grow a lot more recently. I don't know whether you've noticed that it feels like there's a kind of openness to being quite deliberately, talking about your faith, wearing it literally on your sleeve or on your T-shirt. What's going on there? And I've seen accounts like Ballers in God,
they're amazing,
where they share all these testimonies from well-known footballers. Do you feel that something's changed?
Yeah, I do. I feel there's a new boldness amongst players to be very open about their faith. I love it when you see a player just rip up their shirt. They don't take it off if they want to avoid a yellow card. And there is an absolute public protestation of faith. I love the fact that Liverpool's Alisson just regularly walks into Anfield or wherever he's playing and he's got his Bible in his hand. I love the fact that Eberechi Eze, who's just made that big signing for Arsenal, he's a Christian. Bukayo Saka, who sadly looks like he's picked up under a hamstring injury yesterday, is such a solid out there Christian. And I'm not sure whether anything's changed in terms of the numbers, but what I think is changing is there feels like there's a new boldness amongst players, that they are very comfortable being open about their faith. They're very comfortable, for some of them, in the way that they celebrate a goal, giving it to God. And Ball is in God with John Bostock, who I think now has retired. I saw him early in the summer, had a terrific career. His last AFL club was Notts County. He's an amazing guy who's brought this community of footballers together. Follow them on Instagram, Ball is in God. It's such for me, a source of encouragement. Listen, I've never played the game professionally, never even got close, but I obviously work in the world of football, and seeing shining lights both within the game right now and people who are no longer playing is so encouraging for me, because you don't feel like you're a lone voice in what feels like a very secular wilderness.
I mean, this podcast is called The Surprising Rebirth of Belief in God, and here at Big Church Festival we've heard repeatedly the phrase quiet revival, this research that shows actually there's an uptick of interest in faith, especially among young people. And obviously football by its nature is about young people coming through in the game, and I just see that reflected there. It seems like this new confidence in faith and whatever is coming through, especially in a sport and a culture where there's been a lot of emphasis on flashiness, the fame and wealth that often accompanies this. But I sense something different among these young players.
Yeah, and I would say this, just as a moment of encouragement this afternoon as we sit here in the beautiful sunshine, is I feel the ground is really fertile out there. Something I've noticed, and listen, you can take or leave social media. It's definitely not everything, but it can be really useful. It can be a really important tool for sharing your opinions, for sharing your story. And I found, and I know Instagram's a little bit of a calmer backwater, say, to X, that is obviously once was Twitter. But I found whenever I put anything out there on social media about my faith, sometimes very kind of out there stuff, quoting a Bible verse or putting up a new Christian song, I never, ever, ever get any pushback.
Really?
And I'd say probably 10, 15 years ago, I would have got pushback. I really do believe that right now, the harvest is plentiful and the growers are working, but I feel it's riper than ever.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid, because I really do believe it's a great time for sharing. The pushback is becoming less.
I love that. People have been in touch with me saying you need to make an episode on sports and the rebirth there, because I think there is all kinds of fascinating things happening across the board.
Yeah.
We're going to shift gears a little bit into talking a little bit more about your personal journey in the last several years. You published a book, and this was a few years ago, Love Interrupted, and it was all about your wife Gemma and the fact that she tragically died. You've been on a huge journey of life and love and loss, and this is never easy to talk about, especially in front of a live crowd like this. So I appreciate that in asking you to do this. Every time you tell this story, it's going to take something. But I know so many people who've told me that book in particular has really helped them in their own journeys in this way. Do you want to just kind of sketch out, as you're able, sort of the background to your relationship with Gemma, family, and what happened and what you wrote about in that book?
Yeah, and just from a time point of view, I'm not sort of skating over this in an insensitive way, but I'd been married to Gemma for 12 and a half years. We were living in Reading at the time, and we'd had one child together called Ethan, who's somewhere out there. We bumped into him earlier. He was 8 at the time. He's now nearly 16 and 6 foot plus. So we'd been married for 12 and a half years. I was doing the Premier League for Sky at this point. So really, family life was in a pretty good place, as near to that unachievable perfection as you get. It was a good life. And then in the autumn of 2017, so nearly 8 years ago, she just became very ill all of a sudden. A lot of it we felt was connected with the insomnia that she'd had for many years. And this went on for a couple of weeks, but it got rapidly very, very bad. And so we were taking her into casualty in Reading, where we were out on a Monday evening. And by the Tuesday of that week in November, she's diagnosed with a very rare but very aggressive form of blood cancer called acute myeloid leukemia. And we were transferred to a specialist hospital in Oxford, which is, where she was given a 50-50 chance of pulling through. So already it's feeling pretty stark, but at times like this, you've got to go for the glass half full option. And we went for that 50% she'll pull through. And very sadly, towards the end of that week, she developed some complications that came out of this acute myeloid leukemia that left her this catastrophic hemorrhaging in her head. And she never pulled through. And by that Friday, she's gone. So you are going from a period of everything being okay to suddenly absolutely everything has changed. Your world has been turned upside down. It's been flipped inside out. You're suddenly in the world of traumatic grief. You're suddenly in the world of pain and solo parenting and a myriad of fear-filled questions that start bombing at you every single hour of the day. It was an incredibly tough time. It was really interesting actually bumping into a friend just a few moments ago down near the main stage. And she said, I remember seeing you here at the Big Church Festival, the first May after Gemma had gone. And she said, it's just so lovely. And I was there with my wife, Dorina, and our two little ones. And she said, just seeing where you are now, I remember you just didn't want to be here. And I said, no, I look back on many things from that period. And much as I love the Big Church Festival, that was probably not the place we needed to be. But it was immensely difficult because it just felt like in that moment, in that week in November, nearly 8 years ago, that your life had suddenly, as you knew it, had been shredded.
Yeah, absolutely. Grief is something I don't think any of us can be prepared for, and it's going to impact us in all kinds of different ways as we go through the various stages of it. What was some of the kind of moments that hit you hardest? You're very honest and raw in the book about just almost screaming at God. There was one moment even when, you were feeling like you didn't want to go on. There's a moment you talk about on a riverbank where you're just saying, what's this about? Do you want to just talk about some of that?
Yeah, I kind of learned early on it was absolutely okay to be angry with God. It really is. God is beyond powerful enough to take our anger. I had so many questions. I felt the unjustness of the world had struck us really hard. But, the world is unfair, and absolutely nowhere in the Bible does it promise us as men and women of faith that life is going to be straightforward. But it felt very unfair. And I got to that stage of reaching the conclusion that actually I was probably never going to get an answer to the why.
Right.
But it definitely became more about the where. Well, in amongst the pain right now, in amongst the confusion, in amongst the fear about what on earth the future looks like going forward, will I ever go back to my job? In the end, I stood away from Sky for a while. Where are you, God, in all this? Because I need some help. I don't need answers because I'm at peace now with the fact I'm not going to get an answer as to why this happened, but I need you. And that moment you talked about on the riverbank came the first Saturday after her funeral, and I just was at the lowest ebb because I think, for those of you, I'm sure there are people in this tent who've been through it, that's the moment where it really hits you because the funeral is like the punctuation mark. It's the full stop, but there's a busyness that builds up to it. And then suddenly, bang, this is your new life. How are you going to navigate this? And it's impossibly hard. And people have to get back to work and routines, and you feel at times really on your own. And I just had that Saturday morning where I just felt just at the lowest ebb, and it was a gloomy December morning, and there's the build up to Christmas. I don't want Christmas even to be happening at this stage. And I just walked to the banks of the River Thames, which backed onto our house in Reading where it flows through, and I just leant against this tree, and I just had this brief moment, Justin, where I just thought, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this. I have not got the strength for the path that lays ahead. However rocky the path is, however easy it's going to be, it's never going to be easy. I can't do it. And so for a brief moment, I just thought, I'm going to roll in. I'm done. Wow. I'm absolutely done. And two things happened really quickly. One is that the unmistakable face of my boy Ethan came into my head. I thought he cannot lose his dad. He's just lost his mum. But also I felt this incredible moment where I just had this sense that there was someone right next to me on that riverbank. And I just looked to my left, and there's the inescapable image of a man looking right at me in the eyes, and I could see in his eyes these tears, and I felt in that moment so strongly, and I can still see that moment now, that was the face of Jesus I was looking at. The face of Jesus, the Jesus from the Bible, the Jesus from now, who stands alongside the brokenhearted, who gets alongside the bereaved, gets alongside the widows, gets alongside the sick, gets alongside the misfits in society. And at that moment I felt this surge of strength. Now, it's not that everything after that got easy, it didn't. But in that moment, that answer to the where question was answered because actually in amidst the mess, he was right there.
Yeah. I really appreciate what you've just said because I've been involved in something called quote unquote apologetics most of my life. And it's the intellectual questions and we try to answer those why questions. And I think there are sort of some intellectual answers that can be helpful around suffering and evil and why does God allow things. But I've always found actually when it comes to people's actual experience of grief and suffering, they're usually not at that point looking for an intellectual answer necessarily. But what does sometimes help is just the fact that
in Christ, you have someone who suffered himself.
Exactly.
You have a God who knows what it is to be abandoned, to be betrayed, to experience humiliation, to experience pain and loss and grief. And for me, that's sometimes the only thing you can hold on to in that moment. It's not an intellectual argument. It's a person who says, I know.
And there's a wonderful line that the brilliant, now gone to glory, Tim Keller said, and I can't remember which book it was in or where he said it, but picking up on what you were saying there, he said this line about, even in our darkest hour, we never experience true darkness, the true darkness that Jesus experienced when he died on the cross, because at that point he was separated from the Father. And so even in your darkest moment, there is still, even if it's just a pinprick of light, there is still light there. But our Lord and Savior Jesus knows what true darkness looks like. So he understands when you have those moments in life that come to all of us at some point. Grief is something we're all going to go through at some point. He is there in those moments. He understands.
There are going to be people in this tent who have gone on a journey of grief. Perhaps they're in the middle of one. Perhaps it's going to happen at some point to all of us. It's just kind of part and parcel of life. You're going to lose people you love at some point in your life. And that's the deal. Are there any lessons you've learned from your very specific journey with grief that came completely out of the blue that you would want to kind of pass on to folk who are perhaps in the middle of that journey or perhaps yet to face that?
So, there's a lot of things I could share. I'll share two things briefly. One is the amazing power of that peace that passes all understanding. That is something I experienced on countless occasions, particularly in those first few months. And I was one of those Christians who doesn't really fully understand what those words mean, the peace of God that passes all understanding. For certain churches, we've said it many times amongst the liturgy and stuff. But what does that mean? And actually, it's that divine peace breaking into areas of chaos. And my life felt for a long time utterly and totally chaotic. Just didn't know whether it was coming or going half the time. Couldn't make sense of life. It was just about holding on to get Ethan through each day and to school and all those kind of things. But it felt a fear-filled, chaotic time. And yet there were really strong moments when I felt this incredible sense of peace in moments where I shouldn't have felt it. And that is the peace that passes all understanding, because when you objectively look at that particular moment, you go, there should be no sense of peace here because it's awful. I feel so unhinged by what's happening. I feel so fear-filled about what on earth the future's going to look like. And yet right at this particular moment, I feel this sense of peace. And that's a God thing. Yeah. That's not a man thing. That's a God thing. So that's one thing, I'd encourage people with it is possible, even amongst intense pain and chaotic and dark periods in life, to feel that incredible peace that passes all understanding. And I'd also say this, that our God is the God who's in the business of rebuilding broken lives. I didn't really ever believe that I was going to be restored and rebuilt to a new place. My sister Becky worried for quite some time that she'd never get her old brother back. Now she does. But that's because God has done this incredible restoration job. One of my favorite programs, one of the few that makes me a bit emotional, DIY SOS. The wife always gets a bit of, can't understand why I find Nick Knowles' payoff emotional at the end. But the other one that gets me a little bit emotional is the repair shop. I love the repair shop, but because there's something deeper going on in that show. The headline act is that someone brings in an old family piano that's been in state of ruin for years, and it's lovingly restored over the course of the program. And then you see that amazing, powerful moment as this piano, which represent memories from years gone by, and various family members who are no longer around, is reconnected with the person who's brought it in. It's a really lovely moment because it's restoration. We love the story of restoration. It's one of the great narratives of the world of sport, the comeback story. It's so powerful when you see someone like, I don't know, he had a tough time, Tiger Woods, in the wilderness for years, comes back and wins the Masters. Rory McIlroy a few months ago, winning the Masters, completing the career Grand Slam. We thought it was never going to happen. The comeback story is so powerful. And that's been the powerful thing in my life. Over the last few years, it's been a little bit like I was brought into God's repair shop, completely broken, still kind of recognizable as the old me, but not really like the old me. And over the last 7 or 8 years, God has restored me in ways that I never felt was possible. Did I think I was ever going to be married again and happy and fulfilled? No, but I am. I've been married to Dorina now for 4 years. An amazing woman. I've been so blessed by God through her, and also blessed with a couple of little kids. I'm 52. It's exhausting. You're having a muster up strength where you don't necessarily have it. But Talitha and Theo were over there a moment ago. They've now disappeared into the kids' areas. Listen, I don't say this as a kind of this is your blueprint for what happens when you go through tough times. This has been my story. I can only share what God's done in my life. And what I can say is that God is in the business of restoration. And even his restoration is far beyond anything that we ever see in the repair shop on BBC One. Those men and women who repair stuff and restore it are incredible. But God is the God of perfection, and he restores life. And even if right now you find yourself on the floor, you find your life in bits and a mess, and you're wondering what's around the corner, and even if there is a corner, he's in the business of rebuilding and restoring lives.
I love it. We actually had on this very stage just yesterday the teddy bear ladies from the repair shop.
No.
Yeah, Julie and Amanda. And
I picked the wrong day.
I know.
What a day to be working.
I know. But yeah, they said exactly the same thing.
I love that.
They said what we do on that show for us is a picture of what God does for us. He doesn't discard us when we're broken. He doesn't leave us in a corner. He brings us out and we're going to show the scars, but actually there's something about restoring a much loved toy that is something about the way God treats us as his children.
And excuse the pun, but bear in mind yesterday and today right now is lovely the way God knits things together.
Absolutely.
Hey?
Absolutely.
That won't have been coincidence.
No, you didn't know they were there, but they're wonderful. Look, we've got time for some questions. I want to make a bit of extra time. So I'm gonna sort of segue to questions now, because I know a lot of you have come with your own questions. It might be a question about some of the personal stuff that Simon has shared. It might be more to do with the media and the culture and some of the pressures around that. Might be just, who's your favourite Blue Peter presenter? Whatever. We're here. We've got 15 minutes or just over to take some questions. So can I see some hands? If you've got a question, I can see some going up here. So Dan is going to be with a mic. Just keep the questions nice and short, if you would, and hand the mic back to Dan when you're done. Go ahead.
Hi, Simon. We have a mutual friend, very loudmouth man, but I think he was very key in your thing, Dan Ritchie. Can you tell us a bit about Dan Ritchie's?
How do you know Dan Ritchie before I go any further?
My brother's a good friend of his. I'm a Powell, so you stayed at the Croft brothers' family holiday cottage.
Wow. Tell us about it. This is amazing. So Dan Ritchie, everyone's sitting there thinking, who on earth is that? Right, well, this is an amazing story of how God worked things into my life during that period. So in the new year of 2018, so it's only a few weeks after everything's happened, my vicar in Reading was very, very diplomatic. And he said, I've got a letter for you. I have pre-read it because it got sent to the church. And I think you should read it. It's from a guy called Dan. So I read this letter from a guy called Dan. And Dan at this point was a father of 3. He's now a father of 5, had a mishap and had twins. Don't know how he does it, but it gives me hope, if I'm honest. And he said, we live on this farm in Ledbury, and we have this place called the Poplars that lots of Christian groups come to. And he said, me and the boys, Jim and Benji, have been really struck by your story. Just wanted to say hi, and if you ever wanted to come and stay at the farm, you're very welcome. Now this is very out of the blue, it's a bit random, but anyway, I thought, what a lovely guy. So I messaged him back on email because he left his email address. And a few days later he said, look, Jim and I and Benji have been talking, and we know Ethan loves Lego. Is there anything we could sort of send for Ethan to get him through? Now, at this point, what I was doing is every day that Ethan went to school, so I had a lot of worries about him, a lot of worries about how he's going to come through this. I wanted to encourage him to know that even when he went back to school, I was kind of still with him. So I'd write these things called snack notes. I just started putting these little snack notes in his packed lunchbox every day. And I started to put them up on Instagram, and they became a little bit of a thing. It's the quirky world of social media. But I did it every day for him mainly, and then it becomes a social media thing. So anyway, a few days later, after messaging Dan back and saying, yeah, Ethan loves Lego, just to get him a little something, this huge box arrives at our house in Reading. And in it is this railway set, a Lego one for Ethan. Oh, this is ridiculously generous. Well, what a lovely guy. I've still not met him. And then in the other side of the box, and this is where I saw God really at work. God always works through people. And here's a random guy from Ledbury I've never met. And there was this lunchbox in there, a little fabric lunchbox. And in one side of it was some lovely snacks, little pretzels and nuts and things like that. And then I unfolded the other side of this box, and there were these little bundles of yellow cards, all beautifully wrapped in green string, I got them out, and there's like 11 of them. And on the top was this note that said, even dads need snack notes too. Dan had sat there, as we found out from his wife, Kate, he sat there for over a day and had written a word of encouragement for every day for the rest of 2018.
Wow.
Sometimes it was a Bible verse, sometimes a famous sort of biblical quote or a line from a Christian song. And I remember in that moment being incredibly moved. Gosh, here's this total stranger who's done this for us, done this for me. But as I look back, and sometimes we have to look back from a distance to see where God was, where he was, picking up on that weaving analogy, where he was weaving his work through your life. That was one of those moments. And he actually ended up being my joint best man at my wedding to Dorina. It was Ethan and Dan, and they become like amazing, amazing close friends. Someone who 8 years ago I had no idea about, knew nothing about, and now Dan is one of my closest mates. But he's been an integral part of my story of the last 8 years, my family story with Dorina as well. And that's definitely been God at work.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Report that back as to how well I told that story and how much I really bigged up Dan.
Brilliant. Hope you're listening, Dan. Okay, let's get another question. Thank you so much. See some more hands over on this side.
Oh, hi. I just
Hello.
wanted to ask, what does your private time, quiet time with Jesus look like, and what's your favorite way to connect with him?
Okay, so I'd say right now with 2 kids under the age of 3, my quiet time is a little compromised. But I've actually learned not to beat myself up about it. I was chatting with some of the guys from my church where I go to in Amersham, and a lot of them are young dads as well. And I think there's always that temptation when life's really busy to beat yourself up when you're struggling to find that alone time. What it looks like for me at the moment is this is not something I want to be part of my life, but sadly is at the moment. I wake horrendously early. I have a real problem getting back to sleep. So at the moment, I tend to be up and about by around about, and 4:30 is probably a good night. But what it has created is that moment at the start of the day where all is quiet. And actually, that is my moment in the quiet and the stillness. I'm going to be honest, it's a lot easier the summer months because the sun's out and it's light. It's harder when it's November, December. But that's my moment. It's grabbing those moments. And sometimes it's grabbing a moment in the car. I think, it's not about prescribing an absolute time every day and saying, this is my God time. If I can do it at the start of the day, I will. But it's about those moments. And do you know what? I sometimes think as Christians, we feel that those moments, those quiet times, it has to be that certain part of the day, and it has to look like this. I believe God wants a conversation with us throughout the day. One of the biggest parts of my day on a Saturday, and I did it again yesterday, and sometimes I forget, and I've run back from the studio 3 minutes before going on air to do it because it's an integral part of what I do. I found taking Soccer Saturday on deeply scary because not just replacing Stelling, which is hard enough, but a hugely complicated show. You're covering 60 plus games every Saturday. It's a complete head screw. But in terms of that conversation with God, the most important thing I do, aside from all the prep that I do between Tuesday and Friday, is the moment in my dressing room where about 20 minutes before we went on air yesterday, I just lock the door, I get on my knees, and I give the day to God. I don't know how much God cares about football or who wins, whether Wrexham get their first championship win of the new season. I have no idea. But what I want to do is do my best because God does want us to do our very best. I know that God has put me into that show. And so that's what my faith looks like. Yes, I love those moments when I can get them at the start of the day in the quietness at home. But it's also about having that conversation with God throughout the day. It's not about just, specifically making it 5:30 a.m. in the morning. I'd rather it was 6:30 a.m. if I was honest.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Got time for another few questions. Let's keep going. Dan's got the mic, and the lady down here at the front.
Hi. You answered this a bit earlier, but have you got any practical advice or tips on how to help a friend or family member who's going through grief?
That is a really good question. So I'd say getting alongside the bereaved is a tough ask because ultimately you can't solve what sits at the heart of it, which is what would make everything better is for that person not to have gone. So there's an unsolvable right at the center of it. And that can often leave the people trying to support the bereaved really frustrated as to what on earth they can do. Because, as human beings, we want to fix things. We want everything to be okay again. But of course, grief is unfixable in terms of their their earthly departure. It's ultimately fixable in the death and resurrection of Jesus and the eternal hope that we have. But in terms of their physical absence from this earth, that is unfixable. They have gone. And so what I would say to people is it's not for everyone to be able to get alongside people emotionally. So if you're not someone who knows how to get alongside someone emotionally, you don't know the kind of things to say, how best to emotionally support them, be practical. Do you know what? It's one of the most important things you can be in those early weeks and months. And don't just see it as the early weeks and months, because it's very easy to be like the emergency services in the first few weeks where you rush in and sort everything out. But then the fire engine goes back to the station and the house is left a mess. The house needs rebuilding. So practical help is really, really important. If you can sort out meals for a time, that's going to help them, because you just feel overcome by just demands on you. Because suddenly, particularly if it's someone who's gone at the wrong time in life, I think it is different a little bit. When I lost my dad 5 years ago, that's a very different grief because he's gone at the right time in life. Gemma didn't. So suddenly you're a solo parent all of a sudden. So having that practical help, that practical support, that was absolutely massive, because then I can begin to focus on trying to, as much as I can, repair myself emotionally. But also just being able to ask the simple questions that sometimes people avoid, because we want everything to be okay, as I said. And the trouble is, when grief interrupts, and particularly when it interrupts at a young age, it's a really nasty reminder to your friends and actually to your family that bad things happen. And sometimes, as my counsellor said, it's easier if we try and look at the sun. We can only look at the sun for so long. Sun kind of represents the pain. We can only look at pain for so long, and we want to turn away. But you need to ask the questions, and it needs to be just something as simple as, how are you today? How can I help? Is there anything I can do for you today? And you know what? Something I'd say is, if you're texting them, that's fine. But if you don't hear back, don't take it personally. It's probably they're just overloaded at the moment. It's like the spinning wheel of death on an Apple computer. That's your brain after you go through traumatic grief and grief. You're just overloaded. So don't take it personally. Keep checking in and understand that grief journey is a long-term thing. It's going to be a long while. So yeah, you can be brilliant in those first few weeks, but they're going to need you long-term as well. They're going to need you to keep checking in as you go. So there's so much more I could say, but the most important thing is just be there for them. Just keep checking in. Don't just leave them to one side and hope that when everything's better, you'll kind of resume your friendship, resume your relationship.
Thank you so much. So helpful. So helpful. Okay. I think we've probably got time for just two more, and then we'll have to wrap this up. Thank you so much.
Hello. Can I ask how you met your second wife?
That's very personal, isn't it? So how did I meet Dorina? She dropped me a line a few months after everything had happened, and it was just a little bit like Dan. It was like, I'm Dorina. I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. And we began just exchanging messages, as you kind of do in the modern day. And there was something about her that just connected with me. It turns out she's a Christian. It turns out that her family are from Sri Lanka and had been through a lot of personal losses themselves. And we just had this immediate connection. And when eventually the time was right for her, after we'd had a few dates out, and it was weird dating again, but also rather lovely as well, for her to meet Ethan, that was a really amazing moment as well, because actually there was an immediate connection. And it's been such a God thing over the last few years. And for Ethan to have, she can never be his mum. And that's been a really hard thing for Dorina. I think it's a really hard thing for people to step into the life of someone who's gone through this, because there'll inevitably be those eternal comparisons. Yeah. And we do it in some ways. I don't mean this in a kind of disrespectful way. We kind of deify the dead, because we sort of crystallize that moment that they've gone, and everything they did before is unreachable. Of course. And that's been a tough journey for her to walk at times. But what an amazing blessing she's been. And actually what a way in which God has restored something in my life that I didn't think could be restored. And it's listen, life is always going to be different after you lose someone, because like it or not, every single one of us is made in the image of God, and that is unique. Every single one. I always find it amazing. This sounds a weird thing to say. I'm looking at a sea of faces. As far as I can see, everyone's got 2 ears, a nose, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. Some have got beards, some haven't. But we all look totally and utterly different. And so when someone goes, they are unique, irreplaceable. So it's different, but it's also glorious.
Thank you so much. Okay, time for one more. Dan is at the back, and
Here we go. No pressure, but it's the last one. This needs to be really good.
Yeah, all right. I'll try. Simon, how do you reconcile going through what you had to with a God that is loving and just, and yet you got hit by something pretty out of the blue? How do you put all that together and still continue to have a faith?
Well, that is a big one. That is a big one. I'll try and answer it briefly. The honest truth is, as I kind of said a little while ago, is I couldn't reconcile it. I would really struggle at the idea that God is good. I'd find those songs in church really, really difficult to sing. So when I'm here over 7 years ago, after everything's happened, I just couldn't be around this place because I'm hearing stuff from the stage that at that point is not resonating in any way, shape or form in my life. I'm even struggling to believe that God is good. I cannot make sense of God. Why? If on that day, my prayer was a powerful and simple one, which is, please do not leave my boy without a mum, please, Lord. Well, why has this happened? And it was that important moment where I recognized that I can be angry with God. I can shout and ask these questions at him. I've got to the point now where I don't think I'm going to get an answer. I'm tired of Christians saying everything one day will make sense in heaven. You know, you'll get the answers then. Well, I don't believe you will, because what's heaven if we all get there with an angsty load of questions when we arrive at the pearly gates? Surely if it's perfection and what heaven's supposed to be, none of that will matter anymore. So when I found that moment of peace, I realized that ultimately God is good. Ultimately, God did not want this to happen. It was not part of his plan for this to happen. As to why he didn't intervene, but some other stories he does intervene in, I don't know. It was a little bit like when I was young and I used to watch the Superman films with Christopher Reeve, the best of the Superman actors. I had a question to my dad. I remember asking him, I was very, very young. We went to see Superman 2. And I just said to my dad on the way home, I think I was only about 7 or 8 years old, how does Superman choose which disaster he goes to? Because there's lots of awful things happening in the world all the time. How does he pick an elevator in Paris on the Eiffel Tower that's crashing towards the ground? Why does he choose that one? Well, of course, Lois Lane was on that one. That's why he goes. But why does he choose these situations to intervene in, but doesn't choose those? And I felt a little bit like that with God and in the aftermath of everything happened. But ultimately, if this is a God who deliberately set out on that Friday to make sure that life ended, then I, of course, would have stepped away from my faith immediately, because I'm not interested in following or worshipping a God who's in that kind of business. Ultimately, I've found peace with the fact I'll never know. I'm at peace with the fact that bad things still happen and will continue to happen. But I'm also at peace in the fact that one day, every single thing for every single one of us is going to be gloriously restored and made new in heaven.
What a great response we had to Simon Thomas in the podcast tent. His book is Love Interrupted, Navigating Grief, Finding Hope, and it's linked from today's show. You can also find my interview with him up on our YouTube channel as well. And by the way, if you'd like more on the subject of how to approach and understand suffering, there are a couple of sermons I gave on the subject at my own church. And again, you can find them at my YouTube channel, Justin Brierley, and I'll also link to them from today's show notes. My new book, Why I'm Still a Christian, also includes a chapter that may help you to make sense of that most difficult of subjects, suffering and God. But that was such a helpful and honest interview with Simon Thomas. Coming up next, something very different. The Teddy Bear Ladies, Amanda and Julie from the BBC Repair Shop show, join me on the podcast stage. Hi friends, I recently received this review of the podcast from Laszlo, who wrote, "What a great collection of interviews this is. Great job." And a recent convert also left a review saying, "It's taken me 50 years to find God. Better late than never." If you're enjoying this series and you'd like to help me reach even more people with thinking faith, please consider supporting this show. Silver supporters get early access to episodes and bonus content. Gold supporters also get signed books and a monthly catch-up with me. The links to support are with the show notes, or visit justinbrierley.com.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
Welcome to this live edition of the surprising rebirth of belief in God. And welcome, Julie and Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So wonderful to have you. Now, I've been told that you are big church festival kind of regulars. You've been coming here for a few years. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not just here kind of to do podcasts. You're here to enjoy the festival, to be part of what's going on.
Definitely, yeah. It was such a thrill when we were asked to actually do this.
Yeah.
You know, Tim sort of approached us and said, you know, would we like to come and do, reads from our book and do various things? And we were like blown away. So
wonderful,
yes.
Wonderful. So what have you been up to at the Big Church Festival this particular weekend?
Gosh, it's been really busy. We've only been here today. We're only here for one day. So we've been doing a lot with the kids. We've had a wonderful time crafting, sharing our book with them. And we've had such a wonderful welcome everywhere we've been. It's been great.
Fantastic.
Drinking tea.
Wonderful.
Quite a lot of tea.
A lot of scones. No, only
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't come to the Big Church Festival and not gorge yourself on cream teas down at the garden stage. Let me do a formal introduction to you both. The Teddy Bear ladies, Julie Tatchell and Amanda Middleditch, are expert bear restorers, bringing love and life back to treasured teddies on BBC's The Repair Shop. And today we're going to be exploring how they put faith, laughter and a love of crafting all together. So can we have one more round of applause for the Teddy Bear ladies this afternoon? Wonderful. Where does both of your love of crafting, teddy bears, restoring come from? I'll start with you, Julie.
Mine wasn't initially teddy bears. It was just a general love for things handmade and a passion for encouraging people to do something hands-on. I think there's a shortage of crafting opportunities, particularly at the time when we went into business, which was around 2006. And I wanted people to be able to have a go and also to see things being made by hand, to have a better understanding of why something you might see in a gallery costs more than you might see in the supermarket, or why prices have to be charged for something that's handcrafted. Just educating people, really.
That's really nice. Amanda?
Well, I've got a lifelong love of teddy bears. I can't help myself. I just adore them. And I think that childhood passion has just come all through my life. So, I had to go many, many years ago, I had to go making one, and then, and I was collecting them, and it's just all stemmed from there, really. And that love has never gone.
And when did you guys meet? When did it become a joint passion between you?
I had a little teddy bear shop in a village in the New Forest called Brierley. Some people may know Brierley. And it had two sections. It had the shop floor, where I tried to sell sort of higher end collectible bears and used bears as my vehicle for educating people into the whole hand crafting thing. And the studio workshop next door, I ran children's workshops and classes and parties and things like that. And Amanda appeared on my doorstep about 2 weeks after I'd opened the shop.
I did. I just turned up with this basket of bears.
And a rabbit.
You always bring up the rabbit. It hurts. It still hurts to this day. I've made all these beautiful teddy bears and a rabbit, and I put a lot of work into that rabbit. I'd hand dyed all the fur and everything, and she just said, "This is a teddy bear shop. I don't do rabbits," she said.
I was trying to be professional because I was quite new.
Absolutely.
I probably frightened her to death.
She did.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So she agreed. And I have to say, the rabbit did make his way in eventually. He got there out. But it took a while to persuade her. But, the rabbit arrived. But the conditions of me, of her selling my bears, was that I would work in the shop, showing people the skills and the way that I went about designing and, etc., all the things that go into teddy bear making.
And a partnership was forged, which
Yes.
is now enjoyed by people all over the country, all over the world, in
Yes,
fact,
yeah.
through the BBC's Repair Shop. How did that come about? When were you first, as it were, discovered? And this joy of crafting and teddy bears was brought to a wider audience.
8 years ago now, I believe.
8 years.
I think the Repair Shop, it's in its 8th year. And we were just working away. Shall we?
No.
Go on. What are you about to say?
So-
I can see a mischievous smile.
So there we are working away. I was sewing. Julie was also sewing, and the phone rings.
I was doing admin.
Oh, she was admin. Sorry.
Doing admin. No, we've got to do this. I'm sorry for anyone else who's already seen
If
this
you've seen
before.
this, yeah, I'm really sorry. But anyway, so the
Okay.
phone rings, going ring, 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 ring. I'm sewing.
Good afternoon, bear it in mind. Can I help you? Yes. Okay. If you could just put all that down in an email, and I'll get back to you.
We're on the telly. Exactly what it was. Exactly. We screamed, and then we went.
We danced around a bit,
Yeah.
and then we thought, hang on a minute, someone's pulling our leg.
It's never going to happen, but it did.
It did. And we had, obviously it was very exciting. It was a whole new adventure for us completely. And before we said yes for sure, we had to be certain that it was honest and genuine and genuinely was looking out for the people who bought their items in, not just the teddy bears, anything that came in. And it does, and it is. And we can say that from our heart, it is honest.
What's been the magic behind that show? Why does it have such a loyal audience and people who come back to it? It's been, it's fantastically successful over 8 years.
I think it's given people the permission. Some people, I think, have kept things for so many years that they love, but they've been hidden, or they're in too bad condition. I couldn't possibly show anyone that. And all of a sudden, we've given people permission, to go, we can fix that.
Yeah.
We can actually do something. And so some people carry this huge guilt of, why it got broken or thing. There's all sorts of reasons why people come to the repair shop. But I think each person watching can relate to one of those stories, or more than one of those stories, something that's actually happened to them in their life. And I think that the nation have kind of embraced that, and the love that they feel come through that screen.
Yeah, absolutely. You must have encountered many stories connected to these beloved toys and teddy bears and so on. Are there any particular ones that stand out, from all the various teddies who've been put into your care?
It's there are lots, and sometimes it's not necessarily the actual bear itself or the work that we're doing. It's the person or the story that they've got to tell. And I think, going back to your previous question, that's also why it rings true with the viewers, because they hear some amazing stories, whether it be illnesses that children have gone through. I mean, that always gets us.
Children are really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough.
Yeah.
But we've had some fun ones. I don't know if anyone saw the episode last week where we did the biggest dog that we've ever fixed.
Oh, yeah. Go on, tell us about that.
It's quite,
Nearly 7 foot tall.
yeah. It took a lot of stuffing.
And he came from Graceland, and he was a gift from Elvis and the Colonel to the British Elvis Appreciation Fan Club.
Wow.
It was called,
Yeah.
in the 70s.
So it was amazing to hear the gentleman who bought the hound dog in. He had such a lovely story to tell about. He was one of the first people back in the early 70s who chartered a plane and so that Elvis fans could go over to the States. Things like that. So, I mean, we get completely wrapped up in the stories as well. Yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah. So it literally was the "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog" from Sir Elvis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But
Wonderful.
he was a heck of a... nearly killed us because we had to stuff this thing on the hottest day this year.
Always the hottest day.
It's not that long ago we did this one, and it, honestly...
That's brilliant.
It was fun.
Now, one of the reasons you're here at Big Church Festival is because you're both Christians, you share a faith. I wonder, in whatever order you want to take this, you want to tell us a little bit about that journey as well, how faith came along for both of you.
Okay, so I came to faith as an adult. Myself and my husband began looking into faith when we had our first child. wondering whether or not we should have him baptized. And we went on an Alpha course. We were invited to a church that a colleague of my husband's went to. She said, oh, it'll be a perfect church. It's a lovely big family church. So that's where we went. I can remember distinctly standing in the car park on that first day and saying, if anybody hugs me, I'm out of here. I distinctly remember that. It's shameful now because I'm always hugging.
She's hugged everyone. She's like,
but I can remember thinking, this is terrifying. But actually, no, it was the perfect church, and we were nurtured there, and we came to faith, and that would have been about, I think that's about 28 years ago now. So obviously, from that point on, I prayed about any direction in my life and any help that I needed in anything. All the business was all prayed about, and even the premises, I believe, was a gift. And then Amanda came along.
Right. So what's your story, Amanda?
Well, at that point, I wasn't a Christian. I was on the fence, as you like. I've been on the fence for lots of years. My brother and his wife are here, right here.
Give us a wave.
There they are. Come on, Sally, do your hand, give it away. They've been Christians for many, many years. And one Christmas, Julie had been drip feeding me little, but I still wasn't able to take that final step. And then one Christmas, my sister-in-law, Sally, she sent me a message, said, we're having a candlelit service on Christmas Eve. Would you like to come along? And I said, yes, I would love to. So my husband and I went along. And it was magical, absolutely magical. And I remember thinking, this is where I need to be. Well, this is for me. So much to Dale's amusement, when we came out after the service, I said to him, can I come again? He was out back. You don't need a ticket, just turn up whenever. And that must be 6 or 7 years ago now, I think. And yeah.
Wow. It's wonderful to hear about the way that's just developed, and I can understand the attraction of the beauty of a midnight mass and the candles and everything. How is being a Christian, how is sort of trying to live out that faith, which I'm sure has its ups and downs inevitably, how has that kind of worked out, especially when it comes to what you're so well known for now?
Do you know, I think God had a plan for us that I didn't see initially. But I think it was almost like once I gave my life to Christ, it was like a button was pushed. And I was able to understand where Julie was coming from. So decisions were jointly prayerful. And we follow everything. We don't just go, oh yeah, we'll do that because we're on the telly. We pray about everything we're going to do and every step in our career. And we truly believe that God is leading us on this path. So I think had I have not taken that step, I think we'd have still been waiting. We'd still be waiting, yeah. And if we wait much longer, we will be too old to do it. So it came at the right time. Everything is slotting into place and it's perfect. And thanks to the Lord, we were able to do what we do.
Particularly in the TV industry, because it isn't easy. And we came in surprisingly. We were sort of plonked into TV world. And it's quite a scary place when you didn't think that's where you were going. So faith is extremely important. Yeah. And we've had support, on set. We do have a few brothers and sisters on set. Not many. And it takes a while to find them.
Yeah.
Because people are so guarded and protective of themselves. But yeah, it's good. It's a great place to work. Yeah.
When I announced that I was having the Teddy Bear Ladies here on the podcast stage to talk about, faith and God and so on, a lot of people were like, that sounds really interesting, but how do you connect crafting and teddy bears with God and Christianity? But I think there's a lot of overlaps, actually. Yes. Tell me where I'll tell you what I think, but I want to hear from you guys. How have you seen sort of the act of loving, crafting, repairing and restoring things? How is that sort of connected with both of your Christian faith?
Well, that's kind of what God does with us. Yeah. He repairs and renews and helps us on our journey. And I think that's quite a good analogy as to what we do with the teddy bear. We repair them. I'm not saying, it's the same thing, but we can also see that we are helping the people that these items belong to. And it's really healing for some people to actually see that, and I think for us, we find that really emotional to see that people are truly invested, and the love that comes through them is, and through being and to be able, what a blessing to be able to do that for somebody who has thought for years, it couldn't be.
Yeah. And I just want to add that the journey, it has taken a few years.
Yep.
And we absolutely didn't know what direction it was going in. And it really is a faith journey, from finding the shop and finding somebody who feels like a sister to me. Sorry, Dale, that makes you my brother too. But she got me and I got her, because
Vice versa, yeah.
it was quite difficult being taken seriously, going into an industry that is teddy bears. And it was, in the early days, it was tough. I'd go to networking meetings and with sort of would-be accountants and such like, and they'd say, well, what do you do? And I'd say, and they'd like, okay. It was hard.
Are you going to have a picnic in the woods? Those kind of days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was hard, but because we felt, I felt very sort of, it was the right thing to be doing. It was about faith, and I'm only saying this to sort of say to anybody else that's out there who feels they're doing something odd in whatever walk of life they're in. If they truly believe it's come from God and it's prayed about, just follow the direction. If it's wrong, the door will close, because He doesn't want the wrong thing for us. If you have to push too hard, it was never meant to be. And absolutely, as Amanda said, once Amanda came to faith, and we had other things going on in our lives because we've got families as well and such like, it just sort of took off. Yeah. And I have to just say, but I know you'd like to talk about the book, but the early seeds of these stories were written right back at the beginning of this journey. And they came to me. I'm not a writer. I'm slightly dyslexic as well. They came to me as I just had to write them down. I just literally had to sit and write, which is something I'd never done before. So I do believe that the seeds of the stories came from the Spirit. They've been sort of adapted and matured over the years, and with the help of a publisher, obviously. Yeah. But definitely.
I love the way, though, that God, always uses the things that sort of we are passionate about, the kind of the things that fire us. God finds a way, even when people think, oh, that's got nothing to do with God or Christianity. Yeah. There's some way in which God can use it, isn't there?
And that's why we're so amazed to be here in front of this lovely audience today, that Tim recognised in this book and in, what he'd seen of us, that the Spirit's at work.
You were going to add something, Amanda.
Oh, it's gone now.
Don't worry that.
Doesn't take a lot. Sorry.
Hey, that's fine. Let's talk about the book. Barty Bristol, another story. Who is Barty? Introduce us to Barty Bristol.
Well, he's not here at the moment. We left him back up there because the bag was getting heavy. But he's so when Julie opened her business originally, she'd drawn a little logo and made it into her business emblem, if you like. It was hanging outside the shop. It was on all her business cards, that sort of thing. And being that I could make teddy bears, she said to me one day, can you make this little guy, can you bring him to life? And I'm looking at this drawing and all I've got is a head, half a body and one arm. He's hanging over this sign. I knew she could do it. So I then had to imagine what she thought the rest of his body and his legs looked like. But anyway, we got there eventually. And then he kind of helped us to develop the business in a way that he became our mascot, our sort of trademark. So everything we did had him in it. So he's been with us right from very, very early on in our journey. And so it only seems fitting that he's the star of
the book. So
yeah.
Tell us about some of the adventures of Barty in this book.
Well, Barty lives in a village in the heart of the old woods, in, surprisingly, a teddy bear shop with a workshop attached.
And familiar.
Along with Mrs. T and Rose, he welcomes new visitors to the shop. So they might be customers, they might be bears or soft toys that need some sort of help, or they might be new residents who've come. Or he'll go out with his friends around the village and have adventures. There's a little gang. The main gang is the gang you see on the front of the book. So we did have them in a bag, but it got a bit heavy to carry around. And sorry, we should have had them to show you. But basically, you start off in the first story learning how Barty Bristle came to be and how he got his name, because that's quite important.
Can I just add something there? When you read this book, you've got to read it because adults and children have all said how, it's really nice to read. But a lot of these things, these mad things that happen in this are real.
Oh, really?
They actually have
loads events
on things that happen. So you have to work out fact from fiction. Where did we wield in a bit of storytelling as to what actually happened? Because our life is a bit crazy.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
Well, I do encourage you to get. It's available, I believe, here at the bookshop.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And it's the perfect thing for adults and children to sort of sit down and read together.
It is. Yeah.
So it's a really beautifully presented book as well. I mean, did you ever kind of conceive that you'd be doing this on a stage here at Big Church Festival?
No.
In your hand?
No.
Popular BBC? I mean...
No, it's amazing.
How do you process that sort of where you're sitting from now? Sort of how do you kind of look back and see the journey that's happened?
I think for me, what is important is that I stay me. And I think you're the same. It's just be grounded, stay humble. I'm no different. Just because we're on the telly, it doesn't mean we're different. We're just the same as we always were. So I think, there are people, celebrities, you want to call them that don't necessarily like to mix. I love nothing more than people coming up and going, hello, isn't it lovely to meet you? And having that interaction.
Except when we're trying to get here for a particular time. Yeah.
I was a bit worried when it was 2 minutes to 5, and I was like, "Oh, where are the Terrible ladies?"
So I think I think that's how we've dealt with it for sure. Is just remembering where we came from and that we're still there.
And I think we often think, gosh, if this had happened when we were younger, we'd have a lot more energy than we've got now.
Yeah.
But actually, would we have been able to deal with it when we were younger? And
there's a wisdom that comes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I often feel like I think sometimes, as you say, when people are very young and exposed to a great deal of fame or whatever, it can be really difficult. It's a little bit later on in life, you've got a bit more experience under your belt and you can kind of manage that and not get sort of sidetracked by it.
Yeah.
I mean, what I love as well about what you guys do is we live in this very cheap throwaway culture today where things are discarded all the time. They're one-use, plastics and all of that. But you're all about actually doing something that actually says, no, we need to preserve and restore and hold on to things a bit more. I mean, maybe just talk a little bit to that. What's the value, in a sense, of doing that, of not treating things in that kind of throwaway, one-time use way, would you say?
I think changing the question slightly, I think we are pointing out that things don't need to be thrown away. I think it's more of that. If people could learn the basic skills of the repair of some things, just some of the simple repairs, I think there's a generation that just think it has to be thrown away. And it's about treasuring something. A lot of the people who come to us when we were working in the business, a lot of older people would bring something, and so many times it was, this was my bear, I only had one, his name is Ted.
Right.
Well, of course. But now children and adults have a whole bed full of toys. There isn't that one special thing, and it's trying to re-educate people that it's all right to have one precious item, and he can be cleaned, he can be repaired, you can keep him going. So I think it's sort of that.
Yeah. So I have children, and our youngest, Toby, has, just as you described, a bed full of, he's the one who loves all the cuddly toys. He's got them all around the shelves, on all over the bed. But there's one that is the most special to me among his collection.
Okay.
And that is my teddy bear, which has been passed on to him. Now, it's not actually a bear, it's a dragon, actually. Right. It's a Welsh dragon, specifically.
Lovely.
I was around 7 or 8 when my family went away on a holiday to Wales, and I came back with a Welsh, cuddly, furry red dragon. Here's the story, though. A few weeks later, in church, I brought him along with me, went into Sunday school. Another child pulled on his big tail, Brit, and the tail was sort of just hanging loose. But my mum repaired it. And it's always been a bit wonky ever since. It's sort of flopped over slightly.
But I bet you don't mind that.
it makes it more special to me.
Absolutely. Because
Knowing that there's a story there.
Absolutely.
And I guess you don't always, in a sense, try to make the bears perfectly new because they're going to have their scars, aren't they? They're going to have a story to tell.
Yeah, as we all do.
Yeah. We've all got scars and a story to tell. We've all got wrinkles and grey hair. Things, you haven't. Well, no,
Some of us have pink hair.
I forgot. But
no, let's interrupt a moment. There's a little band of visitors who have arrived.
Oh, hello.
You would like to meet.
There we go. Just on time.
You.
Would you like to...
Here we go.
thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Here we go. This is Barty.
There.
He is. Hello.
Hello, Barty.
Look at him. He's the main character in the book. So
Beautiful. And has he got a few friends in there with him as well? Let's see who's coming out.
this is Tom Boot.
Oh.
Oh gosh, this door. Anyway, I do. So Tom Boot, I'll tell you a story. There was a little girl once who had a pair of vinyl. They were very trendy, kinky boots, they were called. And they had like vinyl, you pulled them on like socks. And when they wore out, she was so upset. But one day her granddad went down the shed and he managed to make a teddy bear out of the vinyl. So granddad's name was Tom and he was made out of a boot. So Tom Boot is a tribute to my granddad, basically, because granddad made the original Tom Boot and he's Barty's best friend.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so
Love
that's
it.
Tom Boot.
Love it.
And he is a bear, even though he doesn't look like one.
No, he's not furry.
And he has to wear felt trousers, which he doesn't like to wear because he keeps climbing out of them because his legs squeak. We're up together because he's made of vinyl.
I love it. Brilliant.
All right, this is Albert, dear old Albert.
Very good.
He's very old. He's very wise. Hello, there's a bear down there, Albert. And if we listen carefully.
Oh, still got to work it.
Does anyone remember teddy bears that used to do that?
Very fun.
Yeah. So Albert, he lives with the other bears. Oh, Albert lives with the other bears in the shop. And they all love him, but he just quite likes to sit with a blanket wrapped around his knees, to be fed tea and cake. And they just look after him really, but he knows loads of stuff.
He's the experienced, older, mature member of the gang.
He is.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. There you go.
Very good. Very good. Who else have we got in the bag?
Were you expecting this?
I was not expecting this. To be honest, this whole conversation I wasn't expecting before I turned up at Big Church Festival, but I'm loving it.
It happens when we're out, and about. This is Judy, the tortoise. Judy's, she's a lovely character, but she came to live at the shop. A soft toy that no longer was needed by her owner. So they said, could she come and live with us, which she does. But she finds it too noisy, too much going on in the shop for her. And you'll quite often find her in a corner with her head hidden. So she takes herself up the allotments and she lives on the allotment. And the bears take her jam sandwiches every week for a treat, because that's her favourite thing. But she's happy in the quiet in her own space.
Like so many of us.
Like so many of us. So somebody can always
Brilliant.
relate to. And there's one more in here.
Oh, hello.
Watch out. Every story has to have a naughty little character.
And you have to watch because the children have been making these. So there are quite a lot rolling around the church at the moment.
They're called womins. They wome all over the place. They basically, they're a little bit naughty. They hide in corners. And if you have them in your home, and I'm sure we all have, we just don't know they're there, they pick up all the bits that you've dropped on the floor. Anything. This one's from our, studio. So he's got a cotton reel and bits of thread and all sorts of things hanging on him that he picked up when we've been sewing. But, if you have, I don't know, a garage, goodness knows what you might come home covered in oil and nuts and whatsoever. Anyway, what they do is they play teddy bear bowls. When the bears aren't expecting it, they whiz along the ground and they bowl the bears over.
Brilliant.
But they have to learn self-control. Basically, they have to learn self-control, and the bears learn to make friends, and they all start to get along really.
And you can meet them all in the book.
They're all in there.
That's so great. What a can we have a round of applause for this imaginative feast in front of us? And I love the fact that you're encouraging others, especially young people, to be just as imaginative as you have been in creating this beautiful world and to invest some love and time and attention into creating it. Thank you so much. Such a fun and unexpected conversation.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels on everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
Lots of people here have turned up, I'm sure, bursting with things they want to ask. Perhaps they've got some own memories of toys and beloved stuffed animals. So let's see some hands. And Dan, who is our man with the roving mic, will go to you. Who would like to kick us off? I can see someone's here.
Hello.
Okay.
I collect bears. Do you? You're an arctophile. Did you know that?
Oh, is that an official name?
It's official title. Arctophile. Oh, right. And I've just made regenerated or renewed a bear case for them. So they're all sitting in their bear case. How many bears have you got, each of you?
Gosh.
Well, Amanda's got more than me.
You've got loads.
I have got loads, but she's still got more than me.
I'm not admitting it, but it's over 100.
Well over 100.
Do you have them in a bear case or do they just live scattered all over your house?
Most of them are in the second bedroom. So when Julie comes to stay, she has them all in with her. I don't mind.
Barely room for you with all the teddy bears. Lovely. Brilliant. Any more questions? Let's see who would like to ask. I see a couple of hands at the back here. Let's get over.
Hold about a minute.
Do you have any advice on how to get a book published? Because I'm writing one of my own.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Any advice on becoming a publisher?
Don't give up. I would say don't give up, honestly.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's really tough.
It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it is having a lucky break, which we did, but just keep going, follow, if you're able to follow on social media any favorite publishers favorite authors, do that. Sometimes they turn up at events like this, but family festivals and book signings, anything like that, where you can go and visit. But don't give up, even if it feels like nothing's happening. Tuck them in a file on your laptop if necessary and leave them there. You'll find someone.
And I could add a little bit of advice as well, which is keep writing, even if you're not seeing sort of it being published. But there's people around you who will want to read your stories, your friends, your family, and that's the first people sometimes to test ideas out on, and see what works or what doesn't, what could be improved, how you could, and then that who knows where that might lead. But often it's a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Got another question here. I saw another hand at the back earlier.
How do you juggle your actual shop, your repair shop, and everything else you do in your life?
We did after I was about 3 years, I think, of doing the repair shop, we did have to make the decision to stop doing private repairs and we simply couldn't do it, and it got incredibly stressful. We felt torn in every direction. So we had to decide which was the way to go. Do we continue trying to fix everybody's bears, or do we take the platform that we've been blessed with and promote what we can do and hopefully inspire other people to do it? And that's the path that we went down in the end, and we're so glad we did.
Yeah. It's always difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want to lose touch either with the coal face, if you like, of doing that. But I love what the inspiration to help others to go ahead and do it as well.
There's a gentleman. There you go.
Here we go.
Everybody on the members of the repair shop team all seem very friendly and supportive of each other. Is it always like that?
No. Give us the goss.
What can we
What's
say?
it like?
Do you know what? We're like a family.
Yeah.
Slightly dysfunctional sometimes, but we are a family, and I think we work so closely, and we've done it for so long now that we actually, we're great. It's like, when we're in that barn, we're in our own little world. You know, it's really lovely, and everybody is as nice as they come across on screen.
How do they source these amazing stories and so on? Do people write in? Do they?
Yeah, there's anybody who's thinking of applying. There is a drop down section to the BBC website.
Okay.
I think it's something like take part in a show or something like that, and on there's an application form. But people have to understand that thousands of people now.
Yeah.
But the team is always looking, and even if you don't hear, it may just be that they're not ready for your story yet, or they've done one similar, or an item similar. So if you want to do that, definitely pursue it.
Brilliant.
We are always looking.
But it could be 2 years or more before you actually hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't give up.
Don't give up. There we go. Some more hands in this area here.
Hi, I just want to know, have you ever been given something on the repair shop that you just can't do, or that you've seen that culturally doesn't?
Really good question.
No. And if anybody dropped anything on the way out?
If they had, we wouldn't be allowed to tell you.
Do you know what? If you put together, this is one of those nuggets of information that they give us to drop into conversation now and then, but if you put all of us experts together, we have between us 600 years of experience. So I think if we can't do it between us,
it probably can't be done.
It probably can't be done.
I think on a personal level, we've had things come across our bench that we've had to change the way that we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
We've thought that this would work, but actually we have to go to plan B. But we have a motto, it's been going around for years. There's always something we can do. We just have to be adaptable sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. Couple more hands over here, Dan, and then we'll maybe try for the other side before we...
Hello.
Hello. Can I just start by saying that I've got Adam, my partner, next to me.
Hello.
And he is literally week in, week out watching you. He's your greatest fan.
Got a super fan.
He won't admit it. Oh, he's crying.
He looks embarrassed now, Blossom. Don't be embarrassed. No.
He has a teddy that probably will need looking after, but when the time comes. My question would be, from the moment you start filming, how long does it take till it actually gets on TV?
It's usually, it varies, but I would say from filming to airing about 6 months usually. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's getting closer. I think in the early days, they sort of stocked up on them, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
And because it's so popular, they used them up quicker than they thought. So now, the episode I was talking about with the hound dog was only filmed earlier this summer.
Yeah.
So that was about May or June.
Yeah. And it's already been
aired, so it's getting closer. But from a timing point of view, just to give you an idea, if anyone's ever seen a Christmas episode, the Christmas episode takes 2 weeks of filming, so you can see an hour.
That's what it is.
And you're probably filming that months ahead of Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, we have to wait for snow.
Coming up.
We have to, we have to build a snowman and everything.
You see, this is the magic behind what happens. Did we have one more here? And then if we've time, we'll maybe go for just a couple elsewhere in the tent.
Thank you. First, I'm in awe of your skills. If I tread a hem, I have to use sellotape or a staple gun. But I really love watching the repair shop because I think it does speak to the nature of God to break, to mend broken hearts and the downtrodden, broken in spirit. So it sort of brings things into the light. Have you ever had an opportunity within the TV world you described? Have you ever had an opportunity to reach out, to witness, perhaps off camera, to any of the people?
Share your faith.
Yeah. We do within the crew. There are a few people. Obviously, we can't mention any names. But
Nearly
escape.
burst you there.
Come here. Come on. We have had Christians who've come as part with their story, but the BBC has to remain neutral. Is that the right word?
That's the right word, yeah.
So we're not allowed to go too deeply into any faith in that respect because, so probably not as much as Amanda and I would like, but obviously I have to do what...
I imagine faith can sort of be transmitted in other ways. It's often about the way that you talk and so on.
Yeah, I think sometimes if we get the chance, sometimes there's enough time. Once an item has gone back to the person, they might say to us all, can we have a photo outside? And if we've got time, we'll nip out and have a photo with them. And that's the opportunity we get if we know somebody is of faith that we say. But it's not really a time to start evangelizing. It's not as difficult.
Well, who knows what seeds get planted along the way in these ways. It's wonderful. Thank you. Maybe we've got, I can see a couple of hands over here. So we've got, I'm going to extend our time just a little bit over just to...
Hello. Do you have a favourite repair and one that's sort of stuck with you on the repair shop or in the shop?
The one example, I don't know if anyone heard us this morning, but I'm going to use it again because this one really moved me. It was a young lady came into the repair shop and her mother had died only months before in a house fire. And the only thing that came out in one piece, well, nearly one piece, was her childhood teddy bear. And she was expecting her own baby and wanted to be able to share something of her mum with the new baby. And she was so brave and so eloquent, the way she told, and we use that, I say this quite often, but we use the word story too flippantly. This is people's lives.
Yeah,
this young girl actually went through this tragic time in her life, but we were able to bring him back to a condition that she could share that with her own child and therefore keep the memory of her mum alive. And it was just beautiful, and it was amazing. And that one really but I could go on. There's several, lots that. But I think being the two of us, we know when the other one is feeling a little bit choked up and can't maybe speak. So the other, it seems. God must do this for us, I'm sure, because it seems almost that the other one gets given strength and we can carry on. Yeah. While the other ones go, oh.
It's not a pretty sight.
It's not good. So I think I think there are a lot, I could just go on about, because everybody that comes in is completely worthy of having their items done. But that one still gets me every time. I can just see this vulnerable young lady and it was beautiful.
A beautiful story. Thank you for sharing it. We've got time for one more. So,
hi there. As a pastor, I just want to say thank you for giving us so many good opportunities to share. I use the repair shop most Christmases. It's just brilliant. And the connections with the incarnation and the Christmas story are just brilliant. So thank you. But my question is, given the environment you're working in, how can we best pray for you?
Oh, it's a lovely way to finish up. Yeah, how do we pray for you guys?
Definitely strengths when, dealing with people's emotions and never to forget what they're going through, even down to the fact that they're walking into a barn and suddenly there's lights and cameras and everything, and they're about to tell their story, for want of a better word, which is very personal. So I think what we need is understanding and the right words. And that's something that I always, as I'm greeting somebody, that's what I'm always asking God for, is the right words to be able to put them at ease and to be able to talk them through the whole, to keep ourselves focused on what's important in that day.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get sidetracked in the TV world.
Yeah. Keep seeing the human who's on the other side of
absolutely. Thank you.
the whole thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bless you. Well, we will pray for you.
Thank you. Oh, that's kind.
We thank you for the wonderful work you're doing, the joy you're bringing to so many, and just the way you've shared so beautifully and candidly with us this afternoon. Can we have a round of applause for Teddy Bear Ladies?
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's edition of the show. There's a link to Julie and Amanda from today's show notes. It was such fun interviewing them in front of a capacity crowd at the podcast stage. And that brings our coverage of this year's Big Church Festival to an end, though there were a number of other guests we interviewed, including Tim and Becca Jupp, the founders of the festival. And thanks to them both for the invitation to co-host this year's podcast stage. They issued that invitation about a year ago to me, having become keen listeners themselves of the Surprising Rebirth podcast. So they're probably listening right now. Thanks, guys. By the way, do get yourself booked in for Big Church Festival 2026. They sold out every available ticket for this year's event, so don't hang around. Thanks again for listening, and please do share today's episode with others who you think will benefit from it too. Posting it to your social media makes a big difference to this show reaching others. And of course, leaving a rating and a review also helps people to discover us. And if you'd like to read this podcast, well, it's also a book, and I'll send you chapter 1 for free when you subscribe to my newsletter. And I'll also send you the first chapter of my new book, Why I'm Still a Christian. And just a reminder as well about that bonus content you'll get if you become a monthly supporter of this show. Do please consider becoming one. Silver supporters get early access to new episodes, as well as that bonus content this month, including my one-to-one conversation with John McCrae about his work bringing faith to skeptics over the years on his really popular channel, What Do You Mean? And there's loads of other bonus interviews and content as well. Gold supporters also get signed copies of both my books and the chance for a monthly catch-up call with me. The links to support are with the show notes. Coming up next time.
And he said, Lennox, do you want a career in science? I said, yes, sir. Well, he said, in front of witnesses tonight, you give up your naive faith in God. So I summoned up courage and I said to him, tell me, I said, what have you got to offer me that's better than what I've already got in Christ?
The one, the only, the legendary Professor John Lennox will be my guest next time. Ahead of his appearance at the Responding to the Rebirth conference, we sat down to talk about his extraordinary life and legacy, debating some of the world's best-known atheists and making the case for faith across the world. But you can access that interview right now on video and podcast a whole 2 weeks early when you become a supporter of my works. If you'd like to do that, just check out the links with the show notes. The Surprising Rebirth of Belief in God is a production of Think Faith in partnership with Genexis and the Jerusalem Trust. Editing assistance from Isaac Simmons. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Welcome to Sephora. I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey. I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering. My concealer is making me look worse. Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket.
Okay, Chad. Today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
Don't be left in the dark. Find out about our latest shows, upcoming events, and recent articles by subscribing to my Think Faith newsletter. It'll arrive once a fortnight, and I'll even send you the first chapters of both my books, Why I'm Still a Christian and The Surprising Rebirth of Belief in God, for free when you sign up. And if you want to support this show, you'll get early access to episodes and bonus content when you become a silver supporter. Gold level supporters also get signed copies of both those books and the chance for a monthly catch up with me. Your support makes a huge difference. The links for the newsletter or to support are with the show info, or go to justinbrierley.com.